Another day, another day passes with no UFC 300 update, with no UFC 300 main event. It's getting pretty unbelievable now. So we are now about 2 months away from one of the UFC's supposedly biggest cards ever, or of the year, one of their centennial events, and we still don't have a main event. Not only do we not have any news or updates, we now know Dana White has confirmed through some interviews and the Nelk White podcast that it seems like it's a bit of a shit show behind the scenes, which, I mean, anybody who has eyes and ears can probably tell that this has been a bit of a shit show for the UFC. And then we have Ariel Helwani reporting, not official, but just reporting, what some of the potential fights behind the scenes they're trying to make. And wow, just these fights I'm looking at, I know that the UFC is just struggling right now. Before we really dive in, hit the like button if you end up enjoying this, subscribe for more content similar to this, and check out my channel. I have a lot of other content MMA, UFC related that you might end up enjoying. Just to make this clear, this is just some stuff that Ariel's been hearing from his sources and connections behind the scenes. Obviously, we haven't heard anything from the UFC, nothing like that, but Ariel does have some good connections. And let's take a look at what some of the options are that the UFC is looking at. So we do know that some of the options which I predicted would have been one of the options, like DDP versus Israel Adesanya. We knew about that, and DDP came out and said that, hey, I'm too banged up. It made sense. The dude was too banged up. He was not going to make the fight. And I kind of thought that that would have made sense, Izzy versus DDP, if you don't want to do it in Africa. If you don't have a main event for UFC 300, you throw that up. We know that wasn't an option. And then another option that we kind of knew was in the works, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. Again, we knew it would have been somewhere on the card. I had very specifically said you cannot make this a main event. But let's look at what the other two options that they have are. Khamzat Chimaev versus Leon Edwards, or against DDP. So either Khamzat fights for the welterweight title or the middleweight title. First of all, the Khamzat versus Leon Edwards, I mean, Khamzat's supposed to be a middleweight now, but he's just going to go to welterweight and cut the line. I mean, theoretically, I would have been okay with him getting a title shot before when he beat Gilbert Burns, but now he's a middleweight, so I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but Belal Muhammad is there. I know a lot of you guys don't like him, and I know a lot of you don't remember the name, but Belal Muhammad does deserve a title shot at welterweight more than Khamzat Chimaev, clearly. So that'd be a weird fight. But then there's the DDP fight, which is also like, okay, I mean, if they have no other options in middleweight, whatever, go ahead, do it. Now, as we know, Khamzat Chimaev, we don't even know if he can come to the U.S. now because of some of the affiliations with Kadyrov, so that could put it off the table. But not only that might put it off the table. Khamzat Chimaev himself, all right, has said, Khamzat Chimaev bows out of the UFC 300 main event sweepstakes. I will fight everybody, Chimaev told MMA Uncensored. Edwards, DDP, anyone, but not during Ramadan. I think Ramadan is during UFC 300, which I believe is correct. And then he said maybe somebody in Saudi Arabia, which makes sense. I don't even think he can fight in the US. I want to fight there, not fighting in Ramadan anymore. So he bowed out himself. Even if he was allowed in the US, he would not do it because of Ramadan. So now that's gone. So now Khamzat versus DDP is gone. Khamzat versus Edwards is gone. And now you have Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad left. Here's my guess. They were probably trying to make Khamzat versus DDP as the main event, and then Leon Edwards versus Belal for the co-main. Now, obviously, we can see Khamzat versus DDP is not an option. Khamzat, we just saw what happened, and DDP is too banged up anyway, so I don't even think he can fight anybody regardless. So we have now Leon versus Belal left. Can they still do maybe Leon Belal as a co-main and still find somebody else? Yes. But if they run out of options, it is possible they could just throw in Leon versus Belal as the main event. First of all, let me just say this. How crazy would it be that Leon, his entire career just never taken too seriously, finally getting a title shot. He was losing to Kamaru until he won in the last round. And now he gets to headline UFC 300. And then Belal Muhammad, remember the name. Imagine him headlining UFC 300. After everything he's been through, he gets to headline UFC 300. Conor, it just does not look like it's going to happen. I know some people thought, 4D chess, they're just tricking us and, they're going to put Conor in at the main event. Doesn't really look like that right now. Maybe they can still do it. Doesn't look like it right now. I still think if you want a huge main event, just throw in Pereira versus Izzy, do that, or do Pereira versus Aspinall at heavyweight. Those are the two options, both of them involving Pereira. Just pick one of them, throw that as the main event. Put Belal versus Leon as the co-main event. Let's call it a day. Let's call it a day. That would be a tremendous card. I'm good with it. We can stop this. No more stress behind the scene. The UFC even asked good old Johnny Bones, John, Bud, brother, son, our favorite fighter, could you please fight a UFC 300? Like, we know you're injured and you're not really in shape right now. Like, we can see you have this gut walking around when you're fighting. But could you just do it? Could you do us a favor and just fight on UFC 300? Because we don't really have any other options. And then, unfortunately for them, John said no. And maybe at UFC 298, they're going to announce something. We'll see. Volk versus Topuria. They might just throw up the announcement for the main event. We'll see. So, like the video if you ended up liking it, and subscribe for more content similar to this. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.